Hold on. Let's do another topic today. And the topic is communication. So, what is the basic concept of communication? Communication is the process of sharing information, ideas, thoughts, or feelings between people with the help of speaking, writing, gestures, or with other means. And what is the aim of communication? The aim of communication is creating understanding among people about the topic which you are sharing or about the information which you are sharing. So let's see the proper definition. What communication means. So the communication can be considered as a structured process that enables the exchange of information, as we have already discussed. Exchange of information, ideas, thoughts, opinions, or messages. This process occurs between group, an individual, or an organization, or with an organization. And the communication wholly relies on the common system of symbols, signs, or behavior in order to convey meaning. The common system is needed, definitely. Let's break down this definition into different parts. So the first part of definition tells us that communication, aim of communication is to exchange information. Communication begins with the exchange of content, which may include information, ideas, thoughts, opinions, or even messages. And this exchange forms the foundation of communication. The exchange of ideas, exchange of thoughts, exchange of opinions. This exchange forms the foundation of communication. And what it does, it allows participants to share meaning with one another. For example, an individual shares an idea during a discussion. Yeah, think an individual who is sharing an idea during the discussion. The idea itself represent the information being exchanged. What is happening here? That idea itself is representing that the information is being exchanged among the people or a group. The second part talks about who are the participants in communication. So, communication can occur between different participants, like individuals might be there. The communication can happen between individuals. The communication can happen between groups, or the communication can happen uh, within the organization or organization to organization, regardless of the number of participants. There is no limit of participants, regardless of number of participants. Communication involves interaction between a sender and one or more receivers. Definitely, what it does, communication involves interaction between a sender and one or more receivers. Receivers can be one or more than one. For example, a group meeting where members share opinions demonstrate communication among multiple individuals. What part 3 of this definition talks about, that in order to do communication, what we need a common system of symbols, signs, or behavior. I'm not saying that language, okay? I'm saying common system of symbols, signs, or behavior. So communication requires a shared system to convey message. This system may include language, written symbols, signs, or observable behaviors that are understood by all participants involved. Okay, so what it does, it includes language, written symbols, signs, or observable behaviors that are understood by all participants involved. For example, written words in a notice are kind of symbols that reader understand through a shared language system. Okay, so the fourth part of this definition talks about transmission of information, how this information gets transmitted or how this information is being shared. So transmission refers to the act of sending information. What it does, it refers the act of sending information using the common system of symbols, signs, or behavior. For example, speaking a message aloud transmits information through verbal symbols. Okay. After that, reception of information. The fifth part of this definition talks about the reception of information. So, reception occurs when the transmitted message is received by another individual. Okay, reception means receiving the message or accepting the message, we can say. So, transmission happens or reception occurs when the transmitted message is received by another individual or a group or an organization. For example, listening to a spoken message represents the reception of information. After that, interpretation of information. The definition talks about this part as well. Interpretation of information. It means decoding the message, right? Interpretation is the process by which the receiver understand the meaning of the received message using shared system. Here also, receivers use the shared system. For example, we can say understanding the meaning of spoken words shows the interpretation of information. After this, what is the purpose of communication? The purpose of communication, some main purposes are there. So the first purpose of communication is to inform. It means communication serves several important purposes that guide how and why individual groups and organizations exchange messages. These purposes explain what communication aims to achieve in different situations. So, the first purpose of communication is to inform. This is the primary purpose. And what this purpose tells us. So, the primary purpose of communication is to share knowledge, facts, or data in order to educate or update others. Okay, in order to educate people or update people, we share information. To inform is the first purpose. Informative communication focuses on clarity and accuracy so that the receiver understands the information being shared. For example, a teacher explaining a lesson to students or a company announcing a policy update to employees. These examples demonstrates communication used to inform. Here, these conditions are telling us how the communication has been used by a teacher or a company in order to inform other stakeholders. After that, another purpose of communication is to persuade. Pursued means communication is also can be used in order to influence others' attitudes, beliefs, or behaviors. Persuading means somehow influencing others' attitudes, behaviors, or we can say beliefs. In persuasive communication, what happens? The sender presents messages in a way that encourages others to think or act differently. For example, a speaker encouraging an audience to adopt a healthy lifestyle, or a salesperson explaining the benefits of different kind of products. So these conditions uses communication to pursued. Another aspect or another purpose of communication is to entertain. Obviously, communication can be used for the purpose of entertaining people, in order to engage them, in order to amuse or divert the attention of the people. So, this type of communication focuses on capturing interest and providing enjoyment. What happens? This purpose of communication actually focuses on capturing interest and providing enjoyment to the audience. For example, a storyteller sharing an amusing story, or a presenter using humor during a speech. These conditions demonstrate communication used to entertain. Right? After this, another aspect, or we can say another purpose of communication is to control. Communication can be used to regulate or direct others' actions or behaviors. This purpose is often seen in structured environments where we can say guidance or instructions are required. For example, a manager giving instructions to a team or a teacher setting classroom rules uses communication to control or direct behavior. Another purpose of communication is to build a relationship. Obviously, communication plays an important role in building relationship, in maintaining relationship, and even in strengthening the social bonds. Through regular interactions, individuals develop understanding. Okay, what they do through the regular interactions, individuals develop understanding and connections with other people. For example, friends having conversation to stay connected, or we can say colleagues collaborating through different kind of discussions demonstrates communication used to build a relationship. So in this way, we can say these are the different purposes of communication. Now, process of communication, how the whole process of communication happens, which elements actually participate in the process of communication. So, process of communication can be considered as a systematic sequence through which information, ideas, thoughts, or feelings are transmitted. What do we do? Obviously, information, ideas, thoughts, or feelings we transmit with the help of communication from one person to another to achieve mutual understanding. So, effective communication occurs when the message sent by the sender is accurately received, interpreted, and to by the receiver. Responded to by the receiver. So, this process consists of, we can say, several interrelated components. And what are these components? So, the first component is sender. The sender is an individual who initiates the communication by having an idea, thought, or even we can say information to convey. So the first element in the process of communication is sender. Sender is a person who initiates the communication. After that, another aspect is there, and that is encoding. What does it mean, encoding? Encoding means the process by which the sender converts their thoughts into a communicable form. Okay, encoding means this is a process through which the sender converts their messages or their thoughts into a communicable form, such as words, symbols, or even gestures or images. For example, the teacher selects appropriate language, examples, and visuals to explain the topic clearly. After this, another aspect of in process of communication which is important, that is message. So the message is, we can say, the actual information, idea, or content that is being communicated, right? For example, the explanation of communication process delivered during the lecture is the message, right? The explanation of the communication process which delivered during the lecture can be considered as a message. Another aspect of process of communication is channel. The channel refers to the medium through which the message is transmitted from sender to receiver. So, what are these mediums? Sometimes a video lecture, uh, like right now I am delivering this lecture. So, a video lecture delivered through an online learning platform serves as a communication channel, or even the communication which is happening with the help of email, that can be considered as another channel of communication. So another aspect of process of communication is receiver. Obviously we have seen sender. So what receiver means? The receiver is the person or group for whom the message is intended. Okay, the person or a group for whom that message has been intended or that message has been sent from, for example, students watching and listening to the video lecture are the receivers, right? After that, decoding. Decoding occurs when the receiver interprets and tries to understand the message, right? When this process happens, we have seen encoding. So this process occurs when the receiver interprets and tries to understand the message based on their knowledge, experience, and perception, right? After this, for example, we can say students interpret the teacher's explanation and relate it to their prior understanding of communication. After this, another important part or another important element in the process of communication is feedback. So, feedback can be considered as a response provided by the receiver, which helps the sender know whether the message has been understood correctly, right? For example, student asking questions or responding in the comment section provide feedback to a teacher. Another important part or another important element of process of communication is noise. So noise refers to any physical, psychological or technical interference that disrupt the communication process. For example, poor internet connectivity, background noises, or even we can say lack of concentrating during the video lecture can act as a noise. Okay, so these are the elements which participates into the process of communication, and obviously this structure need to be followed, or this structure somehow works in the process of communication. After this, let's see another aspect, key elements of effective communication. What are the key elements? What key elements we needed in order to make a communication effective? So the first key element we can say is clearness. Whatever message you are going to send or whatever information you are going to send through the communication, so that information should have clarity. Now clearness means what? That the message should be simple, direct, and easy to understand. Okay, whatever message you are sending, that message should be simple, direct, and easy to understand. The sender must use appropriate language and avoid ambiguity so that the receiver interprets the message correctly. Okay, we need to avoid the ambiguity, we need to have the clarity while sending a message. For example, instead of saying please submit it soon, we can send the clear message with other words. For example, please submit the assignment by Friday, 10th January at 5 p.m. So here in this message, you can see that there is clarity and conciseness. Okay, this message is talking about, or this message is indicating a clarity and conciseness in it, right? After, another part is there, and that is conciseness. So conciseness means it refers to communicating the message using a few words as necessary without losing meaning. A concise message saves time, right? Even it keeps receivers' attention alive. Okay. Or for example, we can say long message. I'm writing this email to inform you that the meeting which was scheduled earlier has now been postponed. This is not a concise message, right? It is a little bit lengthy message. So concise message can be written like this: the meeting scheduled for today has been postponed. In this way, you can actually send a message with concise manner. Okay, the meeting scheduled for today has been postponed. Instead of saying what? Instead of saying, I am writing this email to inform you that the meeting which was scheduled earlier has now been postponed. Okay, so instead of saying this, we can say the meeting scheduled for today has been postponed. Another aspect is completeness. Your message should be complete. Okay, completeness ensures that the message contains all the necessary information so the receiver can take appropriate action without confusion or follow-up questions. Right? For example, incomplete message, the workshop will be held on Monday. Okay, this is the example of incomplete message. Complete message should be the workshop will be held on Monday at 10 a.m. in seminar hall B. All final year students must attend. So the complete message should be sent like this. So completeness should be there. After that, correctness. Correctness means the message should be accurate, factually correct, and free from grammatical or spelling errors. Incorrect information, what will happen? Incorrect information can damage the credibility and lead to misunderstanding. Okay. For example, the exam will be held on 15th February. Okay, this is an incorrect message. Here we are not talking about other aspects. Like correct message should the exam will be held on 15th February at 10 a.m. in seminar hall B should be the message. Okay. After this, another part is there, that is, we can say consideration. Consideration involves understanding the receiver's perspective, feelings, and needs. The message should be polite, respectful, and audience centered. Okay, what kind of elements should be there? The message should be polite, it should be respectful, and audience centered. Less considerate message. The example of less considerate message is you failed to submit the report on time, and more considerate message will be we noticed the report was not submitted on time. Please let us know if you need any assistance. So these are the key elements for effective communication. If we follow these elements while having communication, then we will be able to communicate with effective manner. Another aspect is there, that is barrier to effective communication, barriers to effective communication. So effective communication can be hindered by various barriers. Okay, it may have different kind of impediments or different kind of barriers that will interfere with the accurate transmission and understanding of we can say messages. So while having communication, recognizing these barriers is too much important, and recognizing these barriers will help you or help individual and organizations to improve clarity and effectiveness in the communication. For example, the first barrier, an important barrier is language barrier. Language barriers arise when people use different languages. different dialects, or even different accents or level of proficiency. Misunderstanding words, phrases, or technical terms can lead to confusion or errors. For example, a manager delivers instructions in English to a team member who is more comfortable with another language. As a result, what will happen? As a result, the employee misunderstands the task requirements and even completes it incorrectly. Okay, so that's why language barriers need to be understood. After that, cultural barriers. Cultural barriers occurs due to the differences in values, beliefs, customs, or even we can say social norms. Gestures, communication styles, or expectations may vary across cultures, right? In some other culture, the gestures might be understood with a different manner, right? In comparison to your culture. For example, in some cultures, direct eye contact signifies confidence, right? While in other, it may be seen as a disrespectful. Direct eye contact may be seen as a disrespectful in other context, or even we can say in other culture. This difference can cause discomfort or misinterpretation during the meeting. After that, another barrier is there, and that is physical barrier. So physical barrier includes environmental factors, okay, such as distance, even we can say external noise, or poor lighting, or even we can say uncomfortable setting that disrupt communication. For example, during a virtual meeting, background noise and poor audio quality make it difficult for participant to hear key points from the speaker. Okay, and it results into we can say incomplete understanding of that particular message. Another barrier is psychological barrier. Okay, psychological barrier can also be considered as an important barrier in the process of communication. So psychological barrier stem from emotions, attitudes, or perceptions, or even we can say biases that affect how messages are sent or received. Stress, fear, or lack of interest can reduce the communication's effectiveness. Okay, communication effectiveness can be reduced because of the stress, fear, or lack of interest of the person. For example, an employee who feels anxious about criticism may misinterpret constructive feedback as negative, leading to reduced motivation and performance. After that, technological barrier. Obviously, this is the last point of this lecture. Technological barrier. This occurs when communication tools or platforms fails or are not used effectively. These include poor internet connectivity, lack of technical skills, or even we can say software issues. For example, a presentation shared during an online class fails to load due to a technical glitch, preventing students from following the lecture properly, right? So these can be considered as a technological barriers. So we have these barriers somehow disrupt the process of communication. So, understanding and addressing communication barriers, language, cultural, physical, psychological, or technological barriers can significantly enhance clarity, reduce misunderstandings, and improve overall communication effectiveness. Okay, so that's it for today.